Hey everybody, welcome back to our Pokemon Yellow version playthrough. We may be starting a new year, but we're continuing our journey through Kanto to celebrate the 25th anniversary of this game's release in the United States. Episode 1 premiered on the actual anniversary date, and even though I'm technically behind schedule with this series, I'm confident we'll beat the Elite Four before the 26th anniversary rolls around later this year. We're kicking off this episode by leaving Lavender Town and heading towards Fuchsia City. I now have a Pikachu that knows Thunderbolt. Let's quickly head north into Rock Tunnel and see if Pikachu will light it up when we talk to it. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here though. Alright, back to making progress. I don't usually take routes 12, 13, and 14 in my challenges because 1, they're really long. It's 3 routes before you even get to Fuchsia. And 2, there are a lot of trainers here that are hard to avoid. In my solo challenges, I typically skip these routes because by this point in the game, my Pokemon are usually at a decent level and I don't want to overlevel them. After all, keeping the game challenging is part of the fun. That's why I love the bike path. It just lets you skip most of trainers and you can reach Fuchsia quickly. However, this playthrough is a bit different. It's not a solo challenge, so I don't have to worry as much about leveling, balancing, or stats. That being said, I feel like my team as a whole is underleveled right now. If we want to avoid struggling too much in battles, the entire team needs to gain more experience and level up. This series is meant to be fun, but if we don't focus on leveling up, our team could fall way behind in levels and stats compared to our opponent's Pokemon. I feel like we're nearing the part of the game where the difficulty starts to ramp up, so this grind session is necessary, and these routes are the best option right now for that. There are a few challenges though. The first part of these routes is packed with fishermen due to all the docks. That means that Nidoking and Char won't be getting much experience as their moves aren't particularly effective against water types. It's also not the best area for Shades to level up efficiently. But that's okay, because my main focus right now is on leveling Mew species. Since it's a pure Psychic type, I feel like it's going to be the key to beating Koga with ease. There's just one problem. Mew species still doesn't know a Psychic type move. Eventually it will learn Psychic, which is the best move for its type in this generation, but it doesn't learn it until level 40. That means we have over 10 levels to grind before I feel confident in taking on Koga. To speed up the process, I'm keeping Mew species in battles longer than I probably should. If I'm not careful, it might faint, leaving me to decide whether to backtrack and heal it, or just let it sit out while I train the rest of the team as we progress through the routes. In some cases, I've been switch training Mew species with Legend. Since Legend is a grass type, it has an easy time taking down the water Pokemon on these routes, allowing both it and Mew species to split the experience. This method isn't perfect, but it's helping Mew species inch closer to the level we need to tackle Koga. Soon enough, we encounter the sleeping Snorlax blocking our path. As I mentioned earlier, I'm starting this battle with Mew species. We're sticking with Mega Punch, which has been our go-to move for this leg of the journey. The first Mega Punch lands as a critical hit, but it doesn't even take off a third of Snorlax's health. If that was a critical hit, I don't even want to know how little damage a regular Mega Punch would do. Snorlax retaliates with Headbutt, easily knocking Mew species into yellow health. Granted, we aren't at full health going into this fight, but that attack still hits hard. Snorlax is a tanky buff Pokemon, and it's designed to test our progress at this point in the game. Do we have what it takes to beat it and move on? We press on, sticking with Mega Punch. The next one brings Snorlax to yellow health, but the damage is still underwhelming. Luckily, Snorlax wastes a turn using Amnesia. Since we don't have any special moves to hit it with, Amnesia doesn't really help it much here. We land another lackluster Mega Punch and it uses Amnesia again. This back and forth continues until we finally bring Snorlax down to red health. At this point, I decided I want to catch it. But when I check my bag, I have 0 Pokeballs. Well, this is awkward. With no other option, we deal one final Mega Punch to officially knock Snorlax out for good. I like Snorlax. I mean, that's probably obvious since my second challenge centered around one. In Generation 1, Snorlax is a beast with its incredible stats and solid moveset. It's also a great Pokemon for learning HM moves and other challenges that I've done. This Snorlax may be gone, but maybe I'll catch the other one outside of Celadon later. For now, it's back to battling and grinding. It's nice to see Nidoking getting a chance to stretch its legs in battle, thanks to some of our opponents now having electric types instead of the water types we just previously dealt with. Mew species has been performing well on this stretch, but after so many battles, it's finally time to either head back to heal or focus on training other team members. Nidoking is getting some well-deserved spotlight, and 25 has been handling the water types here like a champ. That being said, one Goldeen with Horn Attack and a Supersonic gave him some trouble. Thankfully, Thunderbolt continues to be a lifesaver, delivering a powerful punch when we need it most. We soon run into a bird catcher, and I think it's another opportunity for 25 to shine. Unfortunately, the first Pidgey takes him out with a quick attack. Well, that didn't go as planned. Looks like it's a good chance for Char to step up and see some action. While Ember is already a pretty lackluster fire move, it's the best thing we got right now. Thankfully it does the job and helps Charizard take down the Birdcatcher's entire team. After that battle, I decided it was a good stopping point to turn around and heal up before going any further. It's a smart decision since we still have a lot of battles ahead, and I suspect we'll encounter more type variety as we travel further inland along these routes. Well, I say that, but for now it's mostly normal types at the start of the second leg of traveling. That's fine though, since our whole team can handle them pretty easily, at least in theory. And unfortunately, Legend goes down during this stretch. First, a Rattata managed to rough him up, and then, embarrassingly, a Poliwag took him out. Maybe I should just spam Vine Whip instead of trying to sneak in some healing for some extra padding. 25 avenged Legend though, so at least there's some consolation in that. But 25 didn't last long either. He goes down in the very next battle after a Meowth lands a massive bite. He manages to take out the following Pidgey with a single Thunderbolt, but when Pidgeotto comes out, it immediately uses a quick attack, and since our health was already low, it's an instant KO. What is going on with our team losing to Pokemon we should easily defeat? At this point, I decided to turn back sooner than expected to heal up so the whole team can get an equal opportunity to battle and level up. Once we're ready, we head back into the grind, and 25 comes out swinging, helping us get back on track. Mew species does get poisoned, which is frustrating, but also learns Metronome at level 30, which is, well, that's not much better. Look, I hate when anyone on my team gets poisoned, but Metronome isn't exactly a great move either. It's like spinning a giant roulette wheel of all the possible Generation 1 moves, most of which are duds. Plus, it doesn't have many power points, so the odds of it landing on something useful are pretty slim. Still, we got a long grind ahead, 10 more levels, before Mew species learns Psychic, and that's still the move we need to take down Koga. In the meantime though, we might as well give Metronome a shot. Mew species is still poisoned, but we're pushing through. The first Metronome of the game rolls soft-boiled. Well, a little healing never hurts anyone. After taking some poison damage and another quick attack from Pidgey, Metronome number 2 lands on Growl. That could be helpful since Pidgey is a physical attacker. More poison damage and another quick attack follow, and Metronome number 3 rolls Fissure. Of course, Fissure has almost no chance of hitting to begin with, and since Pidgey is part flying, it's completely ineffective. Finally, the next Metronome knocks out Pidgey by rolling Mega Punch? We already have that move, but you know what, hey, it works, okay, we got the knockout. Mew species still has a decent chunk of health left when Spearow comes out. Metronome raises our evasion with Minimize, and the next one lands on the best possible outcome, Thunderbolt, leading to an easy knockout. Another Pidgey shows up, and Metronome actually works well, putting it to sleep with Spore, then taking it out with Cut and Ember. Fearow is the last opponent, and Skull Bash nearly takes it out. With no Metronome power points left, we finish the battle with a simple pound. I'm honestly surprised Poison didn't take Mew species out during that fight, but I'm even more shocked for the most part that Metronome actually helped us win. We made it through that maze of battles, and now we have a more straightforward path to Fuchsia City. Sure, there are still a few trainers along the way, but those battles play out pretty similar to the other ones we've already faced. As soon as we reach Fuchsia, we heal up and head straight to the Safari Zone. My main goal is to just go ahead and grab the Gold Teeth and the HM for Surf since we're not quite ready to face Koga yet. And since we're exploring the Safari Zone, why not try to catch some Pokemon while we're here? I'm not expecting to snag any of the rare hard to catch Pokemon like Tauros or Scyther, but you never know. After all, this series is meant to pay homage to the original Pokemon games, and the Safari Zone is one of those classic experiences we all remember. No matter how clunky or broken the mechanics might be, it is part of the nostalgia. For those of us who played these games as a kid, we all had some vague understanding of how the Safari Zone worked, just enough to keep trying and hoping for the best. The system is pretty simple on paper. You have a fixed number of steps and Safari Balls, and when you encounter a wild Pokemon, you throw a rock, bait, or a Safari Ball. The Safari Ball is for catching them, obviously. The rock makes the Pokemon more angry, which increases their chance of running away, but it also boosts the odds of a successful capture. Bait has the opposite effect. It keeps the Pokemon in battle longer, but makes them harder to catch. It's a clever concept, but as some people have pointed out in other YouTube videos, the coding for the Safari Zone was not perfect. That's why catching Pokemon like Scyther or Tauros always felt impossibly hard. It isn't bad luck, the mechanics were just a bit wonky and they were accidentally working against you more than they should. Still, it's a fun experience, and you can walk away with some solid catches if you're persistent. I gave it my best shot and managed to catch a few Pokemon during my run. The first catch was Nidorina, though that only happened because I had to throw a rock at her. I was surprised by how long Tauros stuck around, but unsurprisingly, it ran away before I could catch it. Shortly after that, I snagged a Marowak, but then I focused on finding the Gold Teeth and the HM for Surf. Of course, it wouldn't be a true Generation 1 experience without the dreaded full item pack situation. Naturally, I couldn't pick up the HM because my bag was full. Luckily, I had a protein on hand, so I gave it to Nidoking to free up some space. Now we have HM03, and Shades will be learning Surf very soon. But wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a little more time in the Safari Zone. I nearly caught an Execute and a Kangaskhan, but both escaped before I could secure them. I did manage to catch a Cubone though, which is pretty neat. And then surprise, another Kangaskhan runs away. At least Pikachu seems to be having a great time here, and with that, our time in the Safari Zone runs out. Now let's talk about Shades, and actually all of the Generation 1 starters. They're all at their second evolution stage, and honestly, I thought we'd be fully evolved by now. So, we've been grinding and battling wild Pokemon to get new species to learn Psychic and to push all the starters to their final forms. Charchar was the first to evolve, which feels fitting since, well, it's my favorite. I had to battle a bunch of flying Pokemon in that patch of grass west of Fuchsia City to do this. It's a touch of irony that we did our grinding here since Charchar is going to evolve into Charizard, and that means he's going to be part flying from here on out. For Legend and Shades though, I wasn't really feeling the grind against wild Pokemon. Instead, I decided to focus on battling trainers along the bike path for better experience gains. But then I realized something embarrassing. I completely forgot to get the bike in this playthrough. Usually grabbing the bike voucher in Vermilion City is one of the first things I do, but somehow it slipped in my mind this time. So it was back to Vermilion we went. On the way I kept Legend at the front of the party to take on some of the trainers we had skipped earlier. After a few battles, Legend evolved into Venusaur. Now we just need to evolve Shades. With Legend and Charchar taken care of, it's back to the bike path. This time I decided to catch the second Snorlax. That ended up being trickier than expected as it kept feigning during the battle. Eventually though, we caught it in a Great Ball. Ironically more effective than an Ultra Ball in this situation due to a glitch most of us didn't know about as kids. But I digress. Battling the bikers along the path turned out to be a fantastic way to level up Shades. Surf, its new move, proved to be an incredibly solid addition to its moveset, making quick work of the bikers' Pokemon. Before long, Shades reached level 36 and evolved into Blastoise. With all three starters fully evolved, I turned my attention back to Mew species. Unfortunately, even after battling all the bikers and making it back to Fuchsia City, it was still underleveled. That's when I had the great idea. Battle every trainer in Koga's gym to get Mew species to level 40. It was a slow process, especially since we had to keep healing due to poison, but it was worth it. By the time we were done, Mew species had reached level 40 and finally learned the move Sidekick. Now we're ready to take on Koga. And frankly, this wasn't much of a battle thanks to our newly acquired move. That's not to say that the game didn't try its best. Once again, I was caught off guard by the fact that gym leaders have different teams in this version, which surprised me yet again. The other major takeaway from this battle is how glad I am that we focused on grinding before starting this leg of the journey. With Koga's team in the mid-40s, there was a significant level jump to contend with. Despite these surprises, Mew species simply spammed Sidekick, and Koga's team, consisting entirely of the Venonat line, stood no chance. Each one was slightly stronger than the last, but even Venomoth, with its 10 level advantage, went down in one hit. Looking back, Charchar could have been helpful here, but I would really wanted to know Flamethrower instead of Ember for this battle. Regardless, we won the 5th badge with ease. By this point, I realized that this portion of the playthrough felt shorter compared to the others. To be honest, this part of the game has always seemed a bit uneventful to me. Fuchsia City feels like a crossroads, a place that helps you transition to other more exciting locations. From here, we could head to Saffron City to take on Team Rocket and Sabrina, or make our way to Cinnabar Island for the Pokemon Mansion in Blaine. However, I decided to save those tasks for another episode. To wrap this one up, I thought it'd be more fun to do something I usually skip in my challenge runs. We're going to visit the power plant and catch Zapdos. Surf now gave us access, and while the power plant doesn't have much to offer beyond catching the legendary bird, it felt like the perfect way to close this chapter. Reaching Zapdos took some time. It's been years since I last visited the power plant, and navigating the maze-like layout was a bit of a challenge. When we finally faced Zapdos, we were in for a world of hurt. I'd forgotten that it's at level 50 in this battle. To make matters worse, I led with Mew species instead of Nidoking. I was hoping Zapdos would waste turns using electric moves, but its drill peck was devastating, and it hit Nidoking really hard. My initial strategy was to poison Zapdos before Nidoking went down, but that did not work out. Switching to Legend was a mistake on my part too. At this point, it felt like I was just throwing my team at Zapdos out of desperation. Mew species managed to deal some damage before feigning, but it wasn't enough. Determined, I gave it another try, this time starting with Nidoking. Unfortunately, he still went down quickly without accomplishing much. It was starting to look like a repeat of the first attempt. I didn't want to grind for this battle, so I kept pushing forward, hoping something would click. Eventually, we managed to get Zapdos into low yellow health, but that's when another issue came up. The Ultra Balls were not working. I threw the first one and it said it missed. This was exactly why I bought Ultra Balls. I thought they reduced the chance of this happening compared to Great Balls, but it didn't matter. Zapdos continued tearing through my team while I kept throwing Ultra Balls in vain, unable to even get a proper attempt at catching it. The third attempt at this battle was still far from ideal, but it finally worked out. The good news is that Zapdos gave us more opportunities to use Poison Sting thanks to its reliance on Thunder Shock against Nidoking. Unfortunately, we still couldn't poison it before Nidoking fainted. Zapdos also used Thunder Shock against Legends, who resisted the electric moves, buying us some more time. Our first attempt at Poison Powder missed, but the second one finally landed, putting Zapdos on a timer with poison damage. Legend soon went down, leaving us to chip away at Zapdos from there. Mew Species' Psychic was a huge help, steadily whittling down Zapdos' health. Before long, it was time to throw Ultra Balls and hope for the best. The first one missed, and with poison damage steadily taking its toll, we really only had one chance to catch it. Unfortunately, the second Ultra Ball missed as well. Just when it seemed like we lost our window of opportunity, Zapdos knocked out Mew Species, stalling the poison damage for one turn. This gave us one final shot. Desperate, I decided to throw the one Great Ball we had left, a true Hail Mary. Against all odds, it landed and it actually caught Zapdos. What a risky play, but an incredibly satisfying way to end the episode. We managed to accomplish a lot in this episode, far more than I had initially expected, and we've set the stage for even bigger things in the next one. With Saffron City up next, there's plenty to look forward to, but for now, that's all for me. If you enjoyed this episode or any of my other videos, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment on my channel. Let me know what challenges you'd like to see next, or share some of your favorite moments from this run so far. If you have any feedback or suggestions, I would love to hear those too. Your input helps me to improve and make better content for you all. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Geronimo.